Welcome, deep divers. Okay, picture this with me. It's Halloween night, basically, the very early hours of October 31st, 1993. And you've got this huge music star, Tupac Shakur, firing a gun. But not, on stage or in a video. No, this is happening for real. Middle of an Atlanta street during this really chaotic, violent fight. It's just this incredibly tense moment. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? But it was absolutely real and a huge turning point. So today we're doing a deep dive into what people call the Atlanta incident. Happened October 1993. We're going to unpack exactly what went down when Tupac found himself right in the middle of the shooting involving two off-duty cops. And our mission here really is to get past those splashy headlines, The ones that first came out, we're digging into the sources looking for those key details that turn this story from rapper charged with assault into something much, much deeper. We're talking self-defense, police misconduct, and honestly, a pretty rare win within the justice system. So not just what happened, but why it was such a big deal. For Tupac, yeah, but also for the police and for how people thought about these things. Just try to imagine Tupac back then. He's only 22. Coming off this really powerful performance, kind of riding high on success, becoming this major voice. And he has no idea he's about to walk into the situation that's going to challenge everything he believes in.
Yeah, that context is so important for this deep dive. I mean, at 22, he wasn't just some rising star. He had this deep political background, His mother, Afeni Shakur, the Black Panthers. It gave him this really strong sense of social justice, black empowerment, standing up for people. He genuinely saw himself as a protector. And that's key to understanding his actions that night.
Okay, so let's paint the picture. It's October 30th, 1993, late. Tupac just finished a show at Clark Atlanta University, a historically black university, so his message really connected there. He and his crew, they're feeling good, obviously. Celebratory mood. They're heading back to their hotel, the Sheraton Colony Square on 14th Street. It's maybe 1:30 a.m. Halloween's just hours away. Should be relaxed, right? Festive even. But that mood, about to completely break. So as they get close to the hotel, boom. Traffic jam right there at Peachtree Street and 14th. At first you'd think, okay, just traffic. But no, it becomes clear pretty fast this is something way more serious. There's a violent fight happening right in the street. And it wasn't just any fight. As Tupac's cars get closer, they see it clearly. Two white guys are physically attacking a black driver. Now, this drive had nothing to do with Tupac's group, totally separate. But for Tupac, seeing that, it hit him right where he lived. His core beliefs about racial justice, about protecting other black people, it was almost exactly the kind of thing his mom and stepdad had taught him about, standing up.
Right. So who are these two white men involved in this?
Okay, so they were later identified. Mark Whitwell, 33, he was a Slayton County police officer. And his younger brother, Scott Whitwell, 32, an officer from Henry County. Both off-duty. And crucially, they'd been out drinking, celebrating Scott's wife passing the bar exam. So right away, you've got this picture. Intoxicated, armed, off-duty cops in a street fight. That raises immediate red flags about judgment, about conduct.
Definitely. How did it even start? And how aggressive were they being?
Well, the story goes, it started when the Whitwell brothers and their wives almost got hit by the black motorist car in a crosswalk, a near miss. That sparked an argument, which then very quickly turned physical. But what's really critical, based on witnesses and the investigation later, is that the Whitwells were clearly the aggressors. No question. They were physically assaulting the driver. And by that point, the driver wasn't a threat anymore. The drinking obviously played a big role, fueling this completely over-the-top reaction to what should have been minor.
Okay, so Tupac sees this whole thing unfolding, this clear injustice. What's his move?
He acts immediately. Instinctively, really. Like we said, his upbringing, his mom, his stepdad, former Panthers, it was all about standing up against oppression, protecting people. For him, just driving by. Not an option. He felt like he had to do something.
So he gets out of the car, tries to step in, maybe de-escalate, but it goes south fast.
Oh, yeah. It escalates incredibly quickly. As Tupac gets out, one of the Whitwell brothers, instead of maybe cooling down, pulls out a gun and points it right at Tupac.
Wow.
Yeah. So suddenly, this isn't just a street brawl anymore. It's life or death. Tupac tried to help, and now his own life is on the line.
Okay, that's the absolute turning point. He's got a gun pointed at him. What does Tupac do?
He reacts to the threat, recognizes the danger, draws his own gun, and fires 3 times. And interestingly, the sources mentioned he was actually a pretty good shot, practiced regularly, which maybe suggests it wasn't just panic firing. Mark Whitwell got hit in the abdomen, Scott Whitwell in the buttocks, and the evidence pointed toward him firing to stop the threat, neutralize it, rather than trying to kill them. That's a key distinction in self-defense claims.
Right. So the shooting stops the fight. The Whitwells go to the hospital. Grady Hospital get treated, released the next day, thankfully. Police find 3 9mm casings at the scene. Evidence. But for Tupac, the immediate future looks pretty grim.
Absolutely. He's arrested the next morning, charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault. That's serious. Could mean major prison time.
And the news goes everywhere, right?
National headlines. And the initial spin, a lot of it was just sensational. Rapper shoots cops. It fed right into those negative stereotypes about rap music and violence against police that were already floating around. So the first police reports, the early media, definitely painted the officers as victims, Tupac as the bad guy.
Okay, so he's facing these charges, this negative press. What's the defense plan?
Well, he gets out on bond, about $55,000, and hires a lawyer, Kenneth Ellis from Atlanta. This strategy is clear from the start. Self-defense. And this is where the whole narrative starts to flip dramatically. It challenges everything people thought at first.
Right, you mentioned that December 1st hearing. What happened there? How did the prosecution's case start falling apart?
Yeah, that hearing was pivotal, a real game changer, because that's when evidence started coming out that didn't just weaken the case against Tupac.
Yeah.
It exposed some really serious misconduct by the officers themselves, stuff nobody saw coming.
Misconducts, like what came out about the Whitwells?
Okay, first, toxicology confirmed it. Both brothers were drunk, significantly intoxicated when this all went down.
Okay, that's bad enough.
But then comes the bombshell. Investigators discovered that both officers were carrying guns that had been stolen.
Stolen? Stolen from where?
From a Henry County police evidence locker. Scott Whitwell actually admitted he stole them during the investigation.
You're kidding. From their own evidence locker.
Yeah, I mean, that detail alone just shocked everyone, even veteran investigators. It pointed towards potential corruption, maybe systemic issues, not just one bad night.
So, drunk, carrying stolen police guns. And then they lied about it, too. Did witnesses back up Tupac's story?
They absolutely did. The Whitwells had initially told investigators they were the victims, that Tupac was the aggressor. But witness testimony, plus the physical evidence from the scene, it all overwhelmingly showed the Whitwells started the fight. They were the initial aggressors. And here's the kicker. The prosecution's own investigation ended up confirming Tupac's version of events was credible, that he did act in self-defense.
Wow. So the prosecution essentially proved his defense.
Pretty much. It was a complete turnaround from how things looked initially.
Yeah.
A huge moment of vindication for him.
So, faced with all that, the prosecutors, they dropped the charges against Tupac.
Made the really remarkable call to drop all charges, a complete vindication, like you said. And you have to think that probably took some guts, right? Considering the politics, the focus on hip-hop back then.
For sure. What about the officers? Any consequences for them?
Well, Mark Whitwell, the older brother, he was charged initially. False statements, firing at Tupac's car. But those charges later got dropped. However, he did resign from the force about 6 months later. So his police career was over. And the whole outcome, it really pushed back against those trying to paint hip-hop artists as inherently violent or anti-police. It showed Tupac's actions came from a place of, community protection, self-defense, not just random aggression.
But in bigger picture, then, this whole thing really exposed some serious issues, right? Police misconduct, corruption.
Oh, definitely. Those stolen guns from the evidence locker. That wasn't just about these 2 guys. That screams potential systemic problems, deeper issues within the department, possibly.
Right.
And then there's the racial element, which you can't ignore. 2 white cops assaulting a black driver, then pulling a gun on a black celebrity who tries to intervene. It mirrored these broader patterns of racial profiling, police violence, that were a huge issue in the 90s, and honestly, we're still talking about today.
That raises a good question. What kind of legal precedent did this case set, if any?
It actually sets some important ones, legally speaking, about a citizen's right to self-defense, even against police officers under certain circumstances. It basically established that if off-duty officers initiate violence, they kind of forfeit that special protection or authority they might usually have.
Okay.
And it was a massive lesson in the importance of thorough investigation, because those first reports, so slanted, but digging deeper revealed the actual truth.
And the impact on Tupac himself must have been huge.
Profound, yeah. On one hand, it probably confirmed a lot of his criticisms about the justice system, but it also showed him maybe that sometimes the truth can win out, that evidence matters, and the timing. It's chilling. This was just 1 month before he got shot 5 times at Quad Studios in New York.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah. So the Atlanta incident, surviving that threat, being vindicated, it likely reinforced his feeling that he needed to be ready to defend himself and others. It really shaped his worldview, his music going forward.
So the criminal case is closed, charges dropped. But you mentioned a shadow. Did it continue in civil court?
It did. That's the other side of the coin. Scott Whitwell, the brother hit in the buttocks, he filed a civil lawsuit against Tupac. And here's where it gets kind of messy. In 1998, this is 2 years after Tupac died, a judge issued a default judgment against his estate for $2 million.
A default judgment. Why?
Because Tupac's lawyer at the time simply failed to show up in court for the civil case.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it really highlights how different the burden of proof is between criminal and civil court. You can be criminally cleared, but still found civilly liable. And it shows the difficulties in defending someone after they've passed away.
So looking back now, nearly 3 decades on, why does this specific incident, the Atlanta incident, still feel relevant today?
Because the core issues are still so relevant, aren't they? Police accountability, self-defense rights, how Black Americans are treated by the justice system. It's a powerful case study in how initial biases and media narratives can totally shape the early perception of an event. We still see that happen all the time. The fact that the truth eventually came out here, despite all that pressure, that's the enduring and, I think, important lesson.
Yeah, this deep dive really does highlight one of the biggest legal wins in Tupac's, let's face it, pretty complicated relationship with the law. It shows how that reputation he had for violence, for criminality, was often way more about perception, about prejudice, than the actual facts on the ground.
Exactly. And in the end, it's a pretty compelling example that the system can work sometimes when there's a proper investigation, when evidence actually gets heard, even when it involves celebrities, police, and a lot of political heat.
So thinking about Tupac's Atlanta incident today, what does it tell us about that constant tension between truth, perception, and justice, even now? How do we make sure that solid investigation, not just gut reactions or bias, leads the way when we try to understand these complex events? Definitely something to think about. Until next time, deep divers.